In this example, we're going to figure out how to write linear equations when we're given 2 points. So for this specific case, we're given the point of 1, 4, and also the point of 8, negative 10. Keep in mind the two things that we need to know in order to write a linear equation in slope-intercept form is 1, the slope, and 2, the y-intercept. It's also helpful to know the slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b, where we've declared that m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Looking at these 2 points though, we don't know the slope or the y-intercept, so we're going to have to solve for both. If we think back to the different definitions of slope that we have, one definition we talked about was slope was rise over run. We also said this could be written as the change in y over the change in x. So we want to think about how much am I changing to get from this y to this y and from this x to this x? Because remember, this is an x and a y, an x and a y. It can also be helpful to learn this third definition. We can also rewrite the change in y over the change in x as y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. The y2 and x2 here simply mean we're talking about the second pair of coordinates, and the y1 and x1 mean we're talking about the first pair of coordinates. So it may be helpful to write in x1, y1, x2, y2, so we can keep those straight. So now using this idea for slope, we can try to figure out what the slope is between these 2 points. So if we take y2, here we have negative 10 is y2, and we're subtracting y1. y1 in this case is 4. And we're going to divide that by x2 is 8 minus x1 is 1. So if we simplify this, we have negative 10 minus 4 is negative 14, and we're dividing by 7. This can be simplified even further to negative 14 divided by 7 is negative 2. So right now, because this was a definition for slope that we used here, we just solved for slope. So we know the slope equals negative 2. So we now have the first thing we need, but we still need to solve for the y-intercept. So in order to do that, we can choose either point, and as long as we use the same point for the entire thing, we should come up with the correct y-intercept. So to avoid using negatives, I'm going to use the first point for this one. So thinking back to this equation here, y equals mx plus b, we know an x and a y, and we've already solved for the m, which is the slope. So I'm going to use this equation and plug in everything I know. I know that y can be 4, and that's equal to an m of negative 2 that we solved for times 1 is the x. Now it's important we keep in mind if I'm using this y, I have to use this x. And then we still have a plus b. I can simplify this to get 4 equals negative 2 plus b, and then I can add 2 to both sides in order to get b by itself. When I do that, I end up with b equals 6. So now I have the second thing I need to write my equation. So now I can use this form to get my equation of y equals m, which we solved for was negative 2, times x, plus b, which we solved for down here we said is 6. And we end up with this equation of y equals negative 2x plus 6.